Chapter 27. Nicholas awoke when the truck came to a stop in front of a red barn. For a few minutes he thought he was home again. For a few minutes he thought all of his adventures had been a dream.
"Here we are, Nicholas. My home,"
Uncle William said. The farm was perched atop a hill. He could see the ocean off in the distance. He knew he wasn't home, but he was glad his uncle was there. William and Nicholas leaped from the truck and went into the barn. It was dark inside. It smelled of hay, animals, and spilled diesel from the tractors.
"This was an old grist mill years and years ago," William said. "They ground corn and wheat to make flour. Now it's a barn for cows and horses."
The two mice climbed a set of wooden steps. Stacks of baled hay filled the space.
"This way, Nicholas."
William climbed a ladder that leaned against the wall. They arrived in the very top of the barn, in a small space full of old wooden gears and shafts. It was quiet there. The wind made the barn creak like an old ship. Off in the distance, the ocean surf pounded on the shore.
"This old loft makes a wonderful apartment."
William offered Nicholas some apple seeds he had stashed away in the corner.
"Now tell me what has brought you all the way from the other end of the state."
Nicholas munched on his apple seeds, trying to decide where to begin. "First there was the rain, and our house was flooded. The family journal was ruined." With that, the words flowed out. He told William about the old owl in the forest, meeting Edward, helping the beaver in the Quabbin, fishing on the Grand Banks, and everything else along the way. William listened silently. When Nicholas stopped, William sat for a few minutes looking at his amazing nephew.
"You have had quite an adventure, Nicholas. It reminds me of when I was young. I've seen all of the states of New England and parts of New York, too. I remember visiting your parents long ago. I made a copy of our journal and brought it home with me here. I kept it safe in my apartment for years. You know, Nicholas, our mouse family has not always lived in Massachusetts. At one time, there were no house mice in New England. Now there are many branches of our family all over," William said. "We traveled here with the first settlers. We came on ships and made our homes with the colonists. Your family can trace its line back to the very first ship to come to New England, and our journal tells the whole tale."
"I knew you would have it, Uncle William," Nicholas said. "Can I see it?" Nicholas was excited to hear about his family, and he wanted to read all the details. William looked at Nicholas. William rolled his front paws together.
He started. "Well, you see, Nicholas," he continued, "I had the journal for so long. I kept it safe and wrote in it sometimes, but—"
William stood up and paced back and forth across the room.
"It's not here, Nicholas," William said all at once. "Your cousin was here this summer. He wanted to copy the journal for family that lives in Maine. I let him take it home."
Nicholas jumped up. He could not believe it. "I have traveled so far and been through so much. How can the journal not be here? My family is counting on me. I have to get home to help. They expect me to bring the journal home." He sat down with a thump. A puff of dust floated up in the air. The room seemed quieter than ever now. William stood by a knothole looking out and thinking. He turned, looking at his sad nephew.
"Nicholas, what if you spend the winter here with me? I will tell you all the stories I know about our family."
Nicholas thought about what his uncle said. Nicholas had promised his parents he would come home with the journal, and he promised to come back to help them rebuild their home. He didn't know what to do. He wished Edward were here so they could talk over his problem. Edward would help him find a solution. He looked over at his uncle, who was smiling at Nicholas and smoothing out his old gray whiskers. His uncle had been all over New England, Nicholas thought. If he could find his way around New England, Then certainly I can find my way to Maine, Nicholas reasoned. His uncle seemed to guess what Nicholas was thinking.
You are a lot like me, young Nicholas. Once you get the urge to travel, it's hard to stay at home. But you should stay with me through the winter. I will help you prepare for your trip north.
Uncle William, I need to go to Maine to find my cousin and our family journal.
Now, Nicholas, this is no time of year for a little mouse to head off to Maine. In the spring, schooners stop here on their way back north. I will show you how to hitch a ride with them. Then I will go to Stockbridge to help your parents. Maine is a big state, Nicholas, his uncle said. The coast is full of long, winding peninsulas and islands. There are mountains and lakes in the west, trees stretching on for days and days in the north, big cities on rivers and towns and small villages hidden in valleys. Nicholas, you will have many adventures in such a diverse state. You need to spend time with me so I can teach you how to find your way around.
Nicholas looked out the window near the peak of the barn. Small snowflakes had started to fall. It would be safe and warm for the winter here with his uncle. He could explore this island and spend time with his uncle. In the spring, when the warm sun and longer days came back, he would be ready to go off to Maine for more adventures. He would continue his search for the journal that tells the story of Nicholas and his family in New England.